Hello, hi, hey girl, hey. Welcome to the Taylor Show, where we talk about one thing and one thing only, and that's me. It's your host, Taylor, and today it's a solo pod. I know, you're sitting at your desk, you're watching this on YouTube, maybe it's just in your ears, maybe I'm just talking to you and I'm on Spotify right now, and you're thinking, ugh, seriously? She's doing a solo episode. We hardly know this bitch, and yet she's going to go on and on about herself for about 30 minutes, right? And if you're thinking that, then yeah, you're right. You're right. I am going to do that because it's my show. It's literally called the Taylor Show. So I feel like you should know a little bit about me. Today's Valentine's Day. Hence, if you are watching this in video format, I am in a heart sweater. It's a white sweater with red hearts on it. And if you think, hey, maybe it's from TikTok Shop that I've seen 50,000 times on my feed this year, yup, you betcha, $12, best $12 I ever spent. That's not true at all. I've spent $12 on things that I've probably loved a lot more. I'm trying to think of my most recent absurd purchase. It was probably my hair curlers, like the heated hair curlers, which I thought were new. I thought this was new invention. I thought I was so cool. I went to my mom and I was like, guess what I bought? Heated hair curlers. They come in a box. They're heated. Wrap it on up, put them on in, do your makeup, take them out, and perfect hair, right? She goes, oh, cool. Yeah, that's been around like forever. So allegedly, this is not a new invention. And I, again, am just behind the curve. I used to be so ahead of the curve. And now, yet here I am, I'm behind. When I think of curve, I think of Taylor Swift because she once said, the great philosopher Taylor Swift, she once said, so ahead of the curve became a spear. And I love that. I think of that every time I hear the word curve. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. That was ASMR for anybody that likes hearing that sound. For me, I wanted to just shoot myself. That was awful. I hate the sound of people eating or swallowing or anything. Gulping is a big thing for me that I despise. But yeah, let's talk about Valentine's Day. It would be nice if I, as your host, could form a full fucking sentence without messing it up. Also, there is going to be a great concerted effort on this podcast from now on to not use the F word. Not for myself, not for my fans. Did I use fans? Is that the F word? Yes, we're never going to use that word again. That felt wrong. The F word that we're avoiding is fuck, because that was my father's critique of the podcast. He said, you know, you use that word a little too much, and I do want to share this with my grandparents eventually. But who fucking cares, right? It's my show. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm kidding. I'll edit all this out probably. Who knows? Right now, I want to talk to you about something really sad that happened to me this week, and I debated talking about it, honestly, because it's still fresh. The wound is still open. I'm bleeding, okay? Metaphorically, I'm bleeding all over this studio room. I want to talk to you about the fact that I was invited to New York Fashion Week last week. I know, round of applause. I'll wait for them in post. I was so excited. I had my House of CB dress planned. I was all decked out. I had my pink Louboutins, a pink Bottega bag to match. I was, chef's kiss, incredibly dressed. I had my hair blown out. My makeup was done properly. My husband was coming with me. Anybody who's listening to this for the first time is like, whew, Ari, she has a husband? Thank God I have time. If you're single, you're listening, you're like, thank God someone married her. Okay, I feel fine. Anyway, my husband, we were out thrifting. I found him a 1969 Burberry's, before it was Burberry, when it was Burberry's suit. In his size. It fit almost perfectly, like to the T. You couldn't have gotten better, and especially for the show that I was invited to at New York Fashion Week. That was the vibe. So I was spectacularly dressed. He was spectacularly dressed. And if you have any background of me, I work nonstop, right? Not only do I sit here and I bleed for you guys and I entertain, I also do other things. Like I have to do, as Giggly Squad would say, I have to do admin sometimes. And I it's not my favorite thing, but it pays the bills, you know? Actually, my husband pays the bills. I don't know what it does, but you know what? It helps fuel my creativity, and that is what we need here. So anyway, I was invited to New York Fashion Week, really excited about it, and I had other things to do during the day. I didn't have the full day to devote to getting the train and going to the show. I don't live that far from New York City. It's not out of reach that I can get there in an hour and change. So it's raining, it's snowing, it's sleeting outside, of course, because that's just the vibe. But who cares? I'm going to Fashion Week. I don't care at all. So we're in the car, we're on our way, we're speeding down to the local train station, and you know what? Didn't get on the train. It was not in the cards. If we were to have gotten on the train because of the weather and the craziness, if we were to have gotten on the train, we wouldn't have gotten there in time to see the show, which is so disappointing. And this is all my fault. It's due to poor timing skills. It's due to thinking that I had the time and didn't even factor in the threat of a random snowstorm happening. I thought, oh, I have X amount of time before, I'll be fine. I didn't think of delays. I didn't think of anything like that because why would I? The worst part about this is I was invited by somebody so cool. So cool. My favorite person who's ever been to Rikers, Anna Delvey. So I know I'm name dropping. You're like, oh my God, she's going to get sued. I'll say allegedly. But yeah, and I missed it. I missed it. So you know what I did? I sat in that parking garage with the cold, wet precipitation flying at me from the wind. I took a deep breath and bawled my eyes out. I cried like a baby. I cried like a 5-year-old spoiled brat who was told that she was not allowed to get the new iPod Nano in hot pink. That's how much I cried. And am I ashamed of it? No. No, I'm really not. And I'm sorry that I'm screaming into the microphone, but I'm not, because New York Fashion Week was important to me. In my journal last year, I wrote that I would attend New York Fashion Week this year. And you know what? I was so close. I was so close. Add like a little tiny violin in post so you really capture the vision, but I'm upset about it. I'm not thrilled. And so I cried. I digress. I cried. And I said, I need to call my mom. To feel better about this, I need to call my mother. And I did, because my mom's my best friend. I called her and I said, I missed it. The train, the show, all of it. And I was upset. She comforted me, of course. And so I get back in the car and then I go to my parents' house, my husband and I fashion walk for them. I'm transported back to 2009 after a nice trip to the local Kohl's or Boscov's, and my mom would have us model all of our clothes for my dad, who was begrudgingly sitting on the couch thinking, I wonder how much all this was, how much money this was. That's what I'm trying to get out. I was transported back to that time. And I loved it, let me tell you. Besides the lack of applause, which I feel like, honestly, they could have applauded a little bit more, I felt good. I felt good. And then you know what I did? My husband and I, we got back in the car in this snowstorm, and we went to our local bar and got hammered. Because that's what adults do when they're sad. Take a moment. And you know what? You should take a moment and you should sit on that. Have a think on that. That's one of my new favorite phrases from my friends across the pond. Have a think on it. I think I'll have a think on it. I get that a lot. A lot. And I think it's a polite way of saying, let me think about that, but I'm probably not going to pursue whatever you just suggested. But I'm not sure. So if I have any UK listeners, let me know. Also, Bob's your uncle. That's still a term I don't understand. Who the fuck is Bob? And everyone has an Uncle Bob. I have an Uncle Bob. Hi, Uncle Bob. Like, I don't get it. So Valentine's Day. This is probably gonna come out after Valentine's Day, so the fact that I'm wearing the heart sweater and really committing to the bit is, tone deaf, I guess, but who cares? That's part of the brand. I wanna talk about some of my favorite musicians right now that I haven't talked enough about in the past. So on the last podcast, I mentioned, Maude Latour, who is one of my favorite musicians, artists out there right now, and we don't give her enough credit as society doesn't give her enough credit. But anyway, I was talking about her last week, and I guess I'm talking about her again now, and she's one of my favorite new emerging artists on the pop scene. So, if you don't know, I come from a background in radio. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That's why you're listening to me. That's how I got where I got. And I think I want to talk about more of my favorite pop stars, like more of my favorite artists that are emerging on the scene that I think we should be having a discussion about in the music industry, or it's just pop girlies, just girls having fun. So can we talk about Maisie Peters for like 2 seconds? Audience knows it's going to be longer than 2 seconds because I'm a bit long winded. But Maisie Peters is one of those girls. She is that girl. She's English, she's tiny, she's blonde, she has bangs. She's me, okay, right? She's probably my height. She's probably like 5 foot, right? And she has this way of writing lyrics, just being a purebred songwriter that makes me fall in love with her more and more every time she releases an album or an EP. If you want to start with her, do History of Man. Oh my God. She opened on the Eras tour for a couple legs, I think, and I think a lot of traction came from that. I've been a Maisie Peters fan for years, probably 5 or 6 years now. I think I came across her on YouTube. Worst of You is another one of my favorites. That's back when she had brown hair and she was like very young. Like I think she has to be around 20 something, early 20s question mark. I'm not sure. But she hates men and she's for the girls. And I love that. Who else am I obsessed with right now? I'm gonna list other artists that I've just been fangirling over for years. As they come to me. Jade Bird. Jade Bird is one of those. She's more like alt indie music. You've probably heard a couple of her songs. My personal favorite is Lottery. It's so oh my God, it's so good. She's incredible and she's still touring and trying to make a name for herself. But like I said, she's really indie and alternative, so she's not really on the pop side, but I love her. And then lastly, I want to mention Callie Shore. Kaylee Shore. Kaylee Shore. I said Callie because my dog's name is Callie, and trust me, that's a compliment.
She's so cute.
So Kaylee Shore started as like a country music artist. I wouldn't say she was like country pop because it was very like folk. It was very string heavy. And I think it was back in 2019 when I discovered her and she had written this incredible EP, which to this day I'm still floored by some of the lyrics in it. And recently, she started this series on TikTok about how I got unfamous, and it talked about her journey to stardom and the drop from stardom and how she's still trying to climb the charts. And now she's like a rock country pop star who kills it. Like her voice is Miley Cyrus reminiscent almost. I don't know. It's very adjacent to like a Janis Joplin kind of, but in a way that I don't know. I can't describe her, but she's someone that I want to have on the podcast. So I'll have my team reach out to your team, or we could just like DM on Instagram at Kaylee Shore. So those are some of the pop girlies I'm loving right now. I don't really like gravitate towards male vocalists unless you're Harry Styles or Mick Jagger or Steven Tyler, or like Prince, Benson Boone. Unless you're like them. I don't really gravitate towards that. I don't think I notice a male vocalist as much as I'll notice a great female vocalist. And I think that's because the world is sexist, and in my mind, I'm trying to reverse it. You know? You guys are like, no, I don't know, actually. Can you explain? What did you mean by that, Taylor? No explanation necessary. That's my motto, and I'm sticking to it. I saw the Kelly Clarkson show. I was in New York City about a week, 2 weeks ago. I made the train that time. Audience claps. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Yup. Woo, yup. Made the train. Happy for that. Got to see Kelly do karaoke. It was incredible. My whole day was incredible. I love 30 Rock. But you know what else? It was snowing that day too. So I just have bad winter weather luck when it comes to traveling. And and I went to Nashville last month and it snowed. So I guess I can't travel without it snowing, without global warming. Could never be a meteorologist. Actually, you know what? I think I could because they're wrong all the time and they still get paid. Like, you know that if your local weatherman, if he's wrong, he's still back the next night, right? Your local meteorologist, the guy that's doing the charts and showing you the snow totals in front of the green screen in the plaid. Yeah, if he's wrong, he still gets paid. If I'm wrong, I get canceled. I think that's enough for this week, and I think I've talked enough. Have I? Yeah, no, I definitely have. Well, thank you for listening to this solo episode of the Taylor Show. I hope it wasn't too painful. We'll have guests back sometimes. I want to get to know you and you want to get to know me. So the best way to do that is to either press the follow button on Spotify or subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching right now at Taylor Show, where I post all these contents where I post all this content. I just love it. I'm not making fun of Southern people. That's not what I'm doing. I love the South, actually. Stop digging yourself in a hole, Taylor. Just stop talking. I need to know when to shut up. I'm trying to end this episode. Goodbye, guys. Have a great week and tune in next week. Or don't. I don't give a fuck. Bye.